Welcome to Shalom World Podcast.
Welcome to the Shalom World Podcast. Today, we have the privilege of interviewing an inspiring guest, Father Rob Galea. He is a renowned Catholic priest, an acclaimed musician, and a captivating speaker. Father Rob's message of faith, hope, and love has touched hearts worldwide, making a profound impact on countless lives.
I'm Chris Bray.
And I'm Wendy Grace, and it is so great to be here with you. And we are hearing and seeing lots of fantastic music. Actually, our next guest is going to be on the stage in a little while.
Yes. We're so happy to welcome Father Rob Galea. Good to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time. How has your World Youth Day experience been going so far this time?
Look, it's been amazing. Every time I think, I don't know if I have the energy for it. I don't know if I have the strength for it. From one stage to the other, meeting people all the time. But you know what? My body is tired, I'm exhausted, but my spirit's on fire. I'm just so full of joy. And people are saying in the photos, I look happier than usual. I don't know whether to take it as a compliment for an offense, but...
You sent me your itinerary for this week, and I looked at it like, oh my goodness, how are you? Like, you need to be like St. Padre Pio, to bilocate to different places, the two places at once. So now you've been involved in World Youth Day for a lot of years. You started back in Sydney, right? 2008.
Yes.
You have sang the theme song for World Youth Day for a number of different World Youth Days over the years. And how has it been for you to experience that over the course of many years in different locations? What's that been like for you in your faith journey?
Well, look, World Youth Day is a big part of it. It's a mountaintop moment, a transfiguration moment. And it's always, I go to encourage, I go to invest in the lives of these teens, but I always come back feeling so reaffirmed in my vocation, reaffirmed in my mission, reaffirmed in my desire to love people. And this is what the places like this do. And it's almost surreal. I haven't seen an unhappy person here in the last few days. There's not one. There's so much joy. It's almost...
Isn't that, if you could pick one word, probably so far it's joy.
Yes.
You know, that sums up a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that I know, Father, that is something, and through your program on Shalom World in Australia, that's your focus. It's connecting with young people. It's trying to communicate the gospel message, but with a particular emphasis on reaching young people. How do you do that?
The whole aspect, the whole aim of what I do is to give people hope. I'll do it in all ages. But I particularly have a passion for young people because that was the time when I met the Lord. It was the time that was so critical for me, being an addict and eventually finding the mercy, the love of God as a teenager. And I'm so grateful that the Lord met me when He did at that time, because that was the time where I was most impressionable. It was the time where my life and my focus and my passion was to spend the rest of my life serving the Lord. So if we can reach 1, 2, 3 young people and give them the same passion, the same desire, not only to love Jesus and be loved by Jesus, but to cause others to love and to serve Jesus, then our mission is done. So yeah, I receive God's love, and I will stop at nothing until I see others coming back to this.
And you know, this is something, probably, that the Pope really put across in his message at the welcome ceremony. His key message was really, you are not a number. Yes. God knows you by name. You are loved the way you are. And I mean, some people will know your story. You touched on a little bit there, coming from a place of darkness into a place of light. And that could be happening for young people here today. We've acknowledged many times there's young people here that have been, brought by their parish that maybe thought, I don't know if this is for me. That could be changed, and they're having that moment of, I am known and loved by God.
Yes. Well, again, it's about finding this, the personalized God, not a God who is transcendent, someone far away, but a God who is here, came into this world, became vulnerable, became one of us. Why? So that we could know that He knows us by name. Okay, He doesn't need to come down to know us by name, but He wanted us to know that He knows us by name. And so this is, again, an aspect where people come to a place where they gather together and we celebrate this love. We celebrate this information. Hey, Jesus knows me by name. Yeah. But He also knows me by name. And so this is the sharing and the bringing this love together.
Yeah. So what would you say to people who might be struggling with those similar reality circumstances that you struggled with in your youth? Or maybe people just even wrestling with this, is this God thing even real? Does He know me? What would you say to encourage them, to help them along right here for the pilgrims that are at World Youth Day?
Well, I'd say this, in all of this hype, in all of this celebration, make sure you go and take pit stops at some of the chapels. Go and spend some time in silence before the Blessed Sacrament, because that is where you're going to hear God call your name. It's not in the crowds, it's not in the concerts, it's not in the loud music. He's going to call your name in the stillness and the silence. You might hear your name being called and the joy of serving the Lord in the crowds. But the greatest call, the greatest vocation, greatest life-changing moments are when you spend time with the Lord in and amongst all of this noise out there. Good noise, though.
It's good noise. And, we're surrounded by it here at World USA. There's so many events that are going on all over the place. 100 different stages, 500 different events over the course of the week. And there's a lot of noise and a lot of joy that goes on. It's still finding those moments to seek after that sacred silence, to allow the Lord to speak to us.
Yes.
And now I would love to talk about your ministry, FRG ministry. It seems like you're doing all kinds of stuff. You have a book, you do music, you have the mass that you broadcast. You're busy on social media. You're traveling the world. What? I mean, apart from your passion for wanting to share the love of God with others, what sparked that interest in music with you?
Well, I think I look at it in this way. I say, look, I want to use everything I have to proclaim Jesus. So, music. I'm a musician. You're a musician. I'm not sure if you're a musician.
She has a beautiful voice.
I don't know if I want to try.
But using this talent,
gifts, yeah.
Yes, using our talents. But it's not only the gifts, it's also your time, it's your energy. I go to the gym and I take a gym selfie. I point it to Jesus, being fit, looking after your body. I go and I speak at schools. I point to Jesus. So it's everything I have to point to Jesus. And FRG ministry is based on this. We create content, we create resources, we create opportunities for people to, in their ordinary life, in their education, in their exercise, in their practice their daily prayers, how am I going to draw closer to Jesus? So it's a very practical ministry.
And I think we've seen that a lot over the course of the days, where people are using their gifts, their creativity in different ways. But it really struck me, Father, what you're saying there, just in terms of, the moments where it's, you see an amazing band singing about Jesus, or the energy, the joy. That can be the moments where you feel God knows you by name, but it's answering the call and going to the sacraments and going to Him. That's the next step. That's the thing that's really important, isn't it?
And I think this is what some people don't see in a broadcast. Maybe they don't see on the news that there is all of these festivities. But you walk through, there are maybe 20 or 30 churches that I've seen, and they're all open, and there are queues of people wanting to go and spend time with Jesus.
Amazing.
They really want that stillness as well. And stillness is so much part of World Youth Day as well.
Isn't it beautiful, that kind of juxtaposition where, like you say, you're walking in the street and you hear a particular country singing their anthem and they're cheering, and then the next minute, as we saw when we were coming here, you see young people kneeling in prayer, and they're able to find that stillness.
Yes.
It's kind of like a metaphor for the world today, busyness and everything, but they find that stillness. They find that peace with God in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can't help but be overcome with the highs and the lows of this World Youth Day experience when you go from I saw you last night with Joel Melendrez, and man, that was like a workout in and of itself. Just watching him do it,
And even Joe at the catechesis was doing some pimp up doing something. He brought his gifts to that moment too.
I felt tired just watching him, and but then we have, what's beautiful about this experience is that, and like you said, Father, it's like you maybe don't see this in all of the broadcasts, is that you have moments like that where we come together and we celebrate, we get excited about our faith, and it reaches us, it plants seeds in our hearts. But then we have those moments where we can go deeper.
Yes.
Like the city of Joy, where there's just like hundreds of confessionals set up, and you see these pilgrims who are just like on their knees in the grass. Yes. Like, what would make them want to do that? Anything? It's got to be Jesus.
Yes, and you'll see this at the vigil. Now, you're going to see 400, 500,000 people, 1 million people, and you could hear a pin drop at the moment of adoration. Why? Because people, and these young people, long for silence. They long for stillness. They long for that moment where they can hear God call them by name.
Well, it reminds me of, I believe it was in Rio de Janeiro, Matt Maher, during that time of adoration, when he just knelt before Jesus and Pope Francis. Everyone's kneeling. They're facing the monstrance. Jesus is exposed there in the Blessed Sacrament, and he starts singing, "Lord, I Need You." And it was just like a moment. Even I wasn't there, and I watched it on TV. In that moment, I was like, that's powerful. That is what the world is craving, and it's amazing to see that. Now, tell us about how have you seen people's lives change through moments like that? Like, have you heard stories and testimonies of people whose lives have been transformed, kind of like your story, you know?
Well, yes, look, I'm meeting people on the street all the time, and I'm just hearing stories of how their lives are being impacted and changed. But there are also stories that come together in this moment. For example, let me give you an example. A few years ago, I wrote a song, which is a pro-life song, which is called "What Do You Say?" And this lady, this girl, comes up to me just in tears. You know, she comes up to me in tears. She says, "Father Rob," she says, I can't believe I'm meeting you. I can't believe I'm seeing you. She said, "But I've been wanting to share this with you. That when you released the song, I had a bad experience where I ended up pregnant and I was ready to give up my child, and I just couldn't deal with it." She said, "But I listened to your song and I decided to keep my child. And my child now is 2 years old." And she started crying and just telling me, look, and World Youth Day is not only about experiencing God, but it's also about sharing our story.
Yes.
It's about coming to this place where it starts to make sense, and you think, oh my goodness, God did work through my life. God did work through my story.
Father, thank you so much for being with us. Pray for us, we'll pray for you and for your ministry. We're looking forward to seeing you later on stage as well.
I'll be up there soon.
And stay with us here.
Thank you for joining us today. Tuned into Shalom World Podcast for this extraordinary event that celebrates faith, love, and unity.